In part 2 of Adaptation with Diane Marie Brown, we find out what happens when her debut novel gets adapted for TV, but she is to finish writing 2 new books before the end of the summer.
My editor, she asked if I had time for a phone call later that night.
Didn't say what it might be about.
In my mind, I'm thinking always, not always, but often, oh, they're going to cancel the deal. Like, it's off. They've changed their mind. It's too much work.
Yeah.
Um,
You
and so, but luckily at the bottom, she said, nice news. She's like, I just need
Was it
to,
in like fine print?
yeah, yeah. Because she said, I need to, and she said, I have to finalize a time because I need, she need my agent to be on the call too. And I'm like, oh man, what is this all about? And so I got on the call and they asked me if I was sitting down, and I said yes. And they said, do you have champagne? And I was like, no, but I could get some. And so that's when they told me that Read with Jenna and the Today Show had picked my book as their pick for March of 2023. And I was just like, what? Like, that's not something I ever even thought of or imagined.
And you were at your dad's house.
Yes. And then they said, hold on, there's more. Jenna Bush Hager has also started her own production company, similar to what Reese Witherspoon has with Hello Sunshine. She's starting a production company as a way for her to develop projects. Some of them are her book club picks, some are other things, but she would like to develop Black Candle Woman as one of her projects. I could have passed out right there. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
I had plans with girlfriends, my high school friends later on that evening. So I'm like, well, yes, I definitely will have a cocktail or two. But then of course they said, you can't tell anyone and this was 8 months out. They said you can't talk about it, you can't tell anyone.
Did you have to go have cocktails with your girlfriends and be like, there's no way you can hide your expression, and you couldn't tell them?
I couldn't tell them.
Like
And
you're in the CIA.
right. And then I even had like a follow-up call with my agent. Like she called me like during dinner and I'm like, I'm really sorry. I have to go take this call. And so I go out and I had to be like serious. Like I couldn't like freak out. And so I'm talking to her for a while. I just have to go back and talk about like high school stuff, you know.
This is amazing.
But they said you can tell your husband.
And did they tell you at the outset if they were thinking about adapting it for TV or film?
So their idea was it would be a television show, likely on a streaming service. They had identified a showrunner already, but they said, it's not set in stone. If I knew anyone, not, I was like, I don't know, showrunner types. But then the negotiations started for a contract.
What level of involvement were you interested in having? Like, were you interested in being a script writer, like in the writing room? Were you interested in being a producer?
I know a little bit better now, but I was kind of just this happy to be here kind of I guess was my
Grateful.
philosophy. Yes. And also, understanding that just because I want to do something, it doesn't mean that I don't know if I really could do it. I think I was also a little bit, I didn't want to rush to throw my hat in the ring saying I wanted to write it because like what if I really don't know, it'd been years and I hadn't written on an actual show. So I'm like, I would love to, my philosophy was kind of like, I want to be a part of it. I want to learn, but I wouldn't want to be the top dog. Want to have some screenwriting access to the show. That actually ended up being a sticking point that kind of prolonged the negotiations because I wanted executive producer credit or at least producer credit, and that wasn't something that the company was willing to budge on.
Oh, interesting. Not even just producer.
Not producer. I was able to get co-producer, which is essentially a non-writing consultant, how they phrased it. So I could offer like maybe pitch storylines or give ideas, but I wouldn't be a writer.
Did that make you a little uneasy of like not having any kind of say in it?
Not so much because um I understand the difference sometimes, or the changes that sometimes need to be made to a book for it to make sense,
Oh, yeah.
um, as a visual story. Some things you might have to change or bolster or skip over for dramatic effect, especially if we're talking about a series that has to engage the audience and keep them coming back. And again, like I said, I wanted to be a part of the team to learn this a little better. And then maybe if there was an opportunity for another book or another story or additional seasons, I would feel more comfortable
Yeah.
in that role.
Yeah.
But I did, I think, want more of the writing. I wanted the writing credit or the
Yeah.
writing portion of it to be in the contract, but that wasn't something that they were,
Yeah. They weren't giving that up.
right. They weren't giving that up.
So tell me about the process of like them getting the showrunner. Who was the showrunner?
A woman by the name of Carla Banks Waddles. She was the showrunner the last two seasons of Bel Air on Peacock. So she has a contract with Universal, which is Jenna's company is under Universal Studios Group.
Okay.
Or that's who she has the first look deal with. And so I had an opportunity to speak with her as well, and I really liked her take on the story and how she wanted to frame it. She talked about keeping very true to the original story for the first season, and then using that as a launching pad into future seasons to go in different directions. So,
Oh, wow. So her vision was to take the first season from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, and then future seasons would be brand new stories that you didn't write yet.
brand new stories or going back in time, since we have the element of 1950s New Orleans, and that's a part of the book, but there definitely is ripe for developing that. And really, especially if you want to get into kind of like the voodoo hoodoo
Yeah.
aspects,
Yeah.
and keep grounded in New Orleans, there's a lot of opportunity there. um the main character of the story is a therapist who operates out of her home, and so she also thought about exploring clients that come in and maybe we stay with them for a couple of episodes, but they rotate, similar, like, we I don't know if you watch The Pit, which is a
Oh,
medical.
I've seen that. The Noah Wiley, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so every episode you have new patients that are coming in. We get a glimpse of their story, and they're threaded with the longer story arc. But so you could do something similar with her clients that are, even though they might come back on a regular basis. But yeah, so I really liked the way that she saw the structure of the story and how she wanted to dig into the characters and who they really were, and how they interacted with one another and the world. I was very impressed.
And then did you get to see scripts as they were coming in, like drafts of the script?
So my contract was signed in October of 2022, but the book didn't come out until 2023. And so, and she's working on Bel Air. And I think it was about the time when they were going to start with the pitches after the book came out. They wanted to wait until the book came out before they started pitching.
Oh, right. I forgot that the book isn't even out yet.
Yeah,
That's
the book hasn't even come
so
out.
crazy. Because
Yeah.
normally you hear about books coming out and being like huge bestsellers, and then they get made into a TV show or a film. But they picked it up based on Galley, so the book wasn't even out yet. That's so
Yeah.
wild.
You know what's wild is, do you know in like publishers marketplace, when a book deal is first announced, they'll just have like a quick little log line about the book is. Companies are finding content or IP just from that little blurb. So they'll read a little blurb and they'll see this concept and they'll reach out to the publishing house or the agent and say, hey, can I read an outline or can I get a first look at this when it is finished? And so things are getting snapped up.
Yeah, this is the whole crazy IP craze now is just people like looking, really trying to find books that aren't those like bestsellers or on everybody's like, 5 summer must read list because everybody gets the same list, right? So those are all known. So all these scouts are like, where do we go? Like, how do we find books that
Yeah.
aren't already out there that nobody knows before they come out so that they have
Right.
them in advance? So that's kind of
Yeah.
what Jenna did.
Yeah. I don't want to say it's chump change for them, but it's usually not a huge amount of money from their end to have the rights to make something, because then if they wait and the book comes out and it's huge, then hey,
Can't
we
afford
already
it.
have the rights. We don't have
Yeah.
to negotiate, we don't have to compete. We
Yeah.
don't have to, and if it's not a big hit, I mean, they can still make something that's not a huge hit, right? If they think it'll make great TV or a great
Yeah.
movie, then hey, they
Yeah.
can, they'll develop it. But
Giving a writer like 10 grand to secure them for a year or 2 years is nothing to them.
exactly,
Sadly, it's so much to us.
exactly.
But yeah, and then they have it locked down for whatever term the contract
So
is.
I had this offer basically to sell the rights to Thousand Voices, which is uh her production company. And so I met with the entertainment lawyer that I hired, that I signed with. We saw the deal that Universal pitched, and he said, it's not a bad deal, but you don't have to take this deal. You can wait until the book comes out, and depending upon what happens, you might have others who also would like to buy the rights. And he was very straightforward with me. He's like, most of these deals don't happen. Most of the time, the adaptation never occurs. Would you be okay if this never gets made? Are you going to be happy with this amount of money that you're getting as a fee? Or do you want to wait until it comes out and maybe you have multiple offers, and you can see who is giving you the best offer?
That's a tough gamble.
It is.
Yeah.
So ultimately I went with the bird in my hands.
Yeah. I would
And
have done.
also, yeah, yes, because I mean, there's no guarantees. And also, like I said, I wanted to work with Jenna's company. I like their philosophy and the fact that she had picked my book for Read with Jenna. I didn't want to bite the hand that, not that fed me, but that like promoted me, right?
When the people who believe in you in the beginning, that's an important relationship. I
Right.
believe that. And, it might go awry. It might not work out in the end, but there's a lot to be said for people who love your work
Right.
for anybody else.
That was exactly how I felt.
So before she wrote a script, what did she create? Like a deck, a pitch
Oh,
deck for
yes.
to pitch it?
They had a pitch deck. They were just about to start that whole process once the book came out. And that is when the writer's strike
Oh,
began. So that kind of ended all discourse and everything stopped. However, I think what Carla was doing at the time, even though she wasn't supposed to be writing, I think she was still,
yeah.
I don't know this for sure, but I'm guessing she was still writing, right?
That's like when you ask a jury to strike something from the record.
Right.
Like you don't just forget about what somebody said, or you don't forget about what you're creating. Maybe she wasn't putting pen to paper, but you can't stop your brain from working.
Right. Yes. And it's likely she was working on things, but not showing,
Yeah.
she wasn't giving them to anybody. Essentially, it meant that there was nothing that was happening for 5 months.
Man.
And then once the strike ended, what I was kind of hearing is that, well, now there's so much content because nothing has moved. And so now people, again, even though writers were not writing and sharing, they probably were writing. And so there was so much content, and it was the end of the year, and most of the streamers, they had already exhausted their budgets for that year. And so we were going to wait until early the next year to go and do the pitches. But I did see the pitch deck and the script, and learned a lot from that process.
And does it look like, are there images in there? Are there like photos of actors for each character? And are they real actors? And even if
Yes.
you're not like gonna get them for the show, they put them in there.
Yeah, exactly. They really set the stage about what it could look like. New Orleans and the house where they live in Long Beach, and the main characters who, they're not necessarily saying this is who we have in mind, but a person like this is basically
Right.
kind of what the image is meant to symbolize.
It's kind of like the way we have to comp our book. Like our book is like this book and this book and this book, but this is how it's different. So they're kind of creating a world of your book with other references.
And then going through what's going to happen in the pilot and what's going to happen throughout the rest of the season, and then what's going to take it into how it's going to end. But what cliffhanger are we going to leave to continue on to a new season?
Can I ask you a question about there's the pilot script is written, but then in terms of how do they do an episode breakdown? Was it like 10 episodes and there was kind of a paragraph for each, or were they a page each? What did that look like?
Well, at this point with the pitch deck, when I saw the pitch deck, the pilot hadn't even been written, but it
Oh,
was just more conceptually, these are the types of things that are going to happen over. So then they kind of go on the road show. I think in spring is by the time um, because even the pitch deck still had to be blessed by certain higher ups. And then it's time to go, and there's some interest early on. I think the first pitch that they did, and it looked like we were going to go with this streamer. And when I'm saying we, it's not me. We,
you had
because
absolutely nothing to do with it.
yes, but
Can
I
you
also
say
want
who the streamer was or no?
I won't say who it is, but it's probably the most obvious. It was under the production company.
Okay, well,
Connected
flash
with
it on the
production.
screen subliminally.
Yes.
Okay.
But then kind of at the last minute, another streamer came and gave a very aggressive offer that kind of made the team pause and say, oh, maybe we should consider this. And so I think, so then there was some time when they were negotiating back and forth. But they ended up, by summer is when I heard, and this would be summer of 24, that they had decided to go with the original streamer that had said that they were interested. And so it was kind of either late 24 or January 25 when I saw the pilot.
When you say you saw the pilot, they didn't shoot anything. It was the script.
They didn't the script for the pilot, I should say, right.
Okay.
I didn't read it in a lot of detail because one, I was starting to work on a new book, and I was kind of very much like into just focusing on that book because I had a finite time to get it finished. Um, and two, I was kind of scared. I was a little bit scared.
Can only imagine.
Yes, but it was done well. It was making me it was a lot more dramatic than the book in a good way.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking of just well, my parents have passed away, but other significant adults. It was very it was a lot more sexual.
More
That's what I'm trying to
sex.
say.
I mean, it's
Like
TV.
right, yes,
Yeah, you got to get like
exactly.
this, like heavy on the sex, heavy on the voodoo, heavy on the
Yes,
four generate like women living together in a same house. That's
yes,
a lot of energy.
right. So yeah, everything was turned up a lot, but again, I understand that's what you have to do for
Yeah,
television, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
so
There's
yeah,
no like time to just meander through somebody's thoughts and gracefully get to the first
right.
shag.
Yes, yes. We just started right in there. But we were also coming to the end of my contract. We had already gone through 1 year, which the end of that year got pushed back. That 5 months of the strike got
Right.
added on. And so I had a 1 year um deal plus a 1 year extension. So we had started the extension, but that was going to be ending in the spring. And so I was kind of, wondering what was going to happen. Was it going to get made in time, or were they going to add another extension, or was it just going to be over and done? Um, and so we get to the that last day, and we hear that ultimately the streamer decided that they didn't feel it was a fit anymore because of a change in their programming. They were going to um, have a stronger focus with, I think, males and live sports and
Because we don't have enough men or live sports on TV.
right, right.
Honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I also have to think about politics, things that have changed in the last 6, 8 months that we have seen have ramifications or impact on what's getting published, what we're seeing on TV, things getting canceled, you know. Um, no, I'm not trying to make myself feel better or anything,
No,
but
but you just don't
it's a
know,
reality.
I mean, it's like anything in life. There are a million reasons why any one thing happens, any one
Right.
decision is made, and there are so many people involved. You're talking about one production company and
Yes.
another production company and then Universal and then, and then the streamer. And there's so many people and so many decisions coming down. And then,
Right.
like you said, outside influences
Factors.
influencing those decisions.
Plus, I mean, things change, right? What 2 years ago, 3 years ago, what it's believed that audiences were watching or what they wanted, it does change. Our tastes do change. And so, you know, all sorts of factors. And so after, even though um, the rights were basically came back to me, um, they asked if they could still go back to the other company that had come in with an aggressive offer to see if they might still be interested. But just heard a few weeks ago that that was also dead. So
Yeah,
I
I mean, that's got
right,
to be a tough sell to like say no to a big streamer and then come
right.
back. Hey, knock, knock, knock.
Yes.
Me again.
Remember how much you love this?
Yeah. I love you too. I mean,
So I have my rights back, and again, things taste change. It was pitched to all the big streamers, so I don't think it would make sense to try to go out now, find somebody else to buy the rights or try to write it myself and go out. But who
you have a
knows?
new book.
Right. Well, that's a whole other story.
Oh, no.
Trying to get a deal for this book and a third book that I'm working on over the summer.
So
But
you
yeah,
have two new books. Oh, you have one. Okay. You have two new books.
I
One in
have one that's on submission, and I have one that I'm um trying to finish in the next month or two.
Oh
So
my gosh. And do you think that are you excited about the possibility of either of those books getting adapted for film or television?
um I mean, yeah,
Your
again,
voice,
I
your
think I
voice went up like 7 registers.
have I think I now I'm not definitely not as naive. And I don't even want to say naive. I know a lot more now, and I'm glad that I went through the process. Hey, I got a twice. I got paid the fee for the rights
Okay.
to the book, which is just extra money that I'm not going to complain about.
Yeah.
And I understand that it's tough, to get a book adapted. And I don't know if I should have even been worried about this because that's way down the line, but what I was seeing is that um books adapted by Black authors, they would get one season and then they're not renewed. And I don't know if that's I don't know if that's worse or I don't think it's
Yeah.
worse,
I
but
don't think it's worse because, like you just said, it didn't make it to the screen, but you still got paid and
right,
you learned so
right,
much throughout the process.
right. But I don't know. I feel like that would be heartbreaking as well in a way. Um
Oh, heartbreaking.
so but I think just have a different mindset now. And at the end of the day, I like to write books. And so I see anything beyond getting a book sold and people reading it as a bonus, as a blessing, as something wonderful, but it's not something that I want to count on. Not saying that, I'm writing something and I might think, oh yeah, I could picture that in a, on a show or a movie or whatever. I could see that, but I don't think I can help think that way now. But again, it's not how I don't make decisions based on that.
Wow, that is quite a tale. Thank you for letting me take up your precious end of summer time working on your new book. I really appreciate it.
Oh no, not at this has been fun. It's been great talking to you, and I appreciate you letting me gab on about my my story and
No, I think it's so important to tell these stories for other people because like anything, if you don't have a community, if you don't understand what other people's experiences are, you think it's just you.
right.
Right? You think that it's just so hard for you. Your edits are there's so many edits. You were supposed to publish this year and it got pushed to this year and you don't know if that's normal. You don't know if you suck. Like there's no barometer unless you talk about things. I hope it's helpful to our listeners. And also I loved an excuse to read this book.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
It's beautiful and magical. Um, and now I'm sad we don't get to see it on the screen, but maybe one day.